Caitlin.
And I'm Sophie.
And we're here with Superintendent Beth Giese with some of the student concerns. What are your plans and thoughts on vaping in the St. Francis area schools?
Oh my gosh, isn't it just amazing how this has become just an absolute epidemic? There's even government agencies that didn't see this coming. There weren't filters in place, this stuff started getting out. There's so much progress been done on drugs and things like that. We're at an all-time low as far as usage in our schools and schools across Minnesota. That's remarkable. But no one really knows how to get this vaping under control. And we've had people say, you need to have lyceums and you need to get kids in and they need to learn about that. And all of that is good, but the research shows that anytime you do a one-time shot, it lasts for about 4 or 5 days. Kids kind of think about what they're doing and then they go back into old habits. I think this is probably one of the biggest hurdles schools have ever seen. But the good news is that things like drug use and teenage pregnancy and some of those other things, dropout rates, all those things are doing so much better, and I think that's a great thing. But now how do we get vaping under control? It's just one more hurdle.
So let's move to safety.
Okay.
In construction, there's going to be a lot more glass and a lot more areas where possibly there could be more transparency in the school. So if somebody does come in, how are we supposed to protect ourselves in that case?
Well, we were talking a little bit earlier about this at construction. All the new schools and universities and things are going to more of an open concept, and not open in the sense of having no walls or no perimeters, but they are going to that kind of that glass barrier. And what happens is that glass is not bulletproof, but it is shatterproof, and it gives people a time to make a decision on where they want to go and what course of action. Our schools have been trained in ALICE, and you're aware of all that. I won't get into all those details, but we continue to train more and more our staff.
Well, you're the only one that can guarantee, or not guarantee, but allow a gun to come into this school. Under any circumstance, would you find that okay?
Yeah, I've been asked that at my last coffee with the superintendent. Actually, both coffee with the superintendents, that topic has come up. The state statute states that if a superintendent was to give consent, someone could bring an armed weapon into the school. I'm very comfortable with weapons. I was in the military for 12 years. It isn't an uncomfortableness for me. For me, it's the what if. And I don't think any school is going to ever be comfortable with someone that's just because they have a conceal and carry, that they are qualified to help. I don't know. It's a really tough topic, and probably one of those that I would lose sleep over if I knew something could help someone. But it's a tough decision to make, and my job is to keep you all safe. And right now, I feel that our school is safer than any other school I've been in.
How do you think mental health is being taken into account here?
Oh, what a great topic. Even 5 years ago, we didn't talk about mental health as much as we do now. We've taken it extremely serious. We've added extra counselors. We have extra social workers in all the elementaries, middle schools. We've reached out to Lee Carlson, who's a leader in mental health, and 2 of those 3 positions are filled. I am very proud actually of what we're doing. We're well ahead of other schools, and that makes me feel happy. But when things happen in our district and I see things with kids I know, it makes me sad, and I hurt because I feel like there's even more I need to do. I do know in the upcoming budget reductions that we will be making, there is no reductions in mental health. We are actually adding on more people. We are looking at adding back a chemical health therapist. That was a part-time position that got cut before, but we're looking at bringing it back now because I really think that's a very important piece that is kind of missing here.
Okay. You want to talk about what's the difference between a referendum and a bond?
Oh, that's always really interesting. Referendums sometimes are called levies. And this is the easiest way to remember it. Levies are for learning and bonds are for building. And so currently you have an $80 million bond in place. You improved your buildings and your security and everything, the infrastructure of the buildings. This district, I don't believe, has gone out for a levy or a referendum since 2007. So it's been a really long time since you've gone out to the voters on that. But when voters go and they look at a levy, and we might be considering one because there's things we need. We don't want to keep making reductions every year. That would be for learning or anything inside the buildings.
And what would a teacher fall under?
Learning. Kids need things like chemical therapists and things like that. Mental health is a big deal, but if you're not going to fund those positions, but yet tell us we need to have them, are we not going to have a math teacher because we need a chemical health specialist? And we shouldn't have to make choices like that. The government should fund what schools need. And so I'm trying to be a really strong voice at the Capitol and trying to get that done. So, yeah.
Talking about strong voices,
Yeah.
we've had some students going around the school getting petitions signed for hats.
Okay.
What is your opinions on students wearing hats in school?
Well, I always think that should be local principals' decisions at the end of the day. I don't make those back-to-back choices, but personally, I like hats. If I'm at home and I'm laying around on the couch, I tend to have kind of a cap on. In the summer, I love wearing a baseball cap and things like that. I really don't, if they don't disrupt learning, I don't know if I understand how they'd be any different than a hoodie or, an extra sweatshirt on or anything like that. I feel like they're kind of part of who you are sometimes. There is some research out there that it comforts kids with any anxiety or things like that, that it actually can bring down the weight of a hat, or the comfort of a hat can actually do that for some kids. I have heard that it's possibly coming to the school board to take action on that, and I hope, and I will support that to the board, that you should be given those choices. Now, once kids start abusing it, it's no different than something else. If you wear a t-shirt that's not appropriate, no different than a hat that's inappropriate, you need to take it off. Or, if people start using it as a way to distract in class or anything like that, it's no different than anything else. So hopefully the board looks at how many people in the petition?
600, I believe.
That's amazing. That's student government at its best. That's remarkable when you have 1,000 kids in the school and 600 of them signed a petition. I think that's really neat. Good for you guys for doing that grassroots. That's what it's all about, is having a voice. And I think all kids should feel really heard and feel like they have a say in something. I can't say what the board will do. I don't even actually know where Mr. Austin stands on it, so we'll look at some building administration on that. But good for you guys for having a voice. I think that's neat.
And what are other ways you think students can have their voices heard?
I think if people have a way, and I was just talking to one of the classes about this, and I really think it's good in a community where kids just start having a voice, whether it's social media or something like that, where sometimes I think students feel like, well, I'm just a kid, no one's going to want to hear my response. And I've noticed when kids step up and do say things on social media, or maybe write a letter to the editor, or kind of come out in an appropriate way. And I think you guys both know what I mean by that. If you're not blazing and talking about a really controversial issue and demanding things or things like that, I really think you have probably a stronger voice than someone like me. Because when I respond to something on social media, it's like, oh, that's just that superintendent, she's supposed to say that, that's her job. When a student steps up and says, stop picking on the kids at St. Francis. We're doing great things here. You don't know that we've done X, Y, and Z to improve our school. Stop saying that all kids at St. Francis High School are a bunch of thugs or something like that. I think you having that voice is really powerful. So I would just recommend more kids step up to the plate and not feel so like they're doing something wrong, or you don't have the right to say that. I think if you do it the right way and don't, if you get up there and bash some teacher or something like that, never looks, you're not taking the high road. You're not being classy about how you're doing it. But I think a well-said or well-written document that says how you feel, I think the petition is a great example of that. Have your voice heard. Even if it's a voice that maybe is kind of unique and different and maybe doesn't agree with the norm, I will always sit down with any student and talk about something. We could totally disagree on the topic, but how bad is it that we sit down and talk about it? Doesn't mean one way's right or not. The topic we just talked about, guns in schools, that's my opinion. That's how I feel about it, but that doesn't mean that's how everyone feels about it. So I think just stepping up and actually saying and not feeling like they don't have a right because they're not 18. I don't believe that at all. I've seen some really powerful 9-year-olds get a pretty good message across. And don't ever hesitate to come straight to the school board if it's a school-related issue. There is a public forum time where anyone can talk if they wanted to. Again, I would just encourage people to be appropriate. If you go to City Hall, you wouldn't go in there screaming with a big protesting sign or something. You would go in their public forum and you would talk about the issues that you have. Yeah.
And as we've gotten in touch with you and saw your email through Facebook, how have you used social media to reach out to the community?
I think I try really hard to show all the positives that are happening in our district. There's a lot of naysayers that kind of think that, oh, they're just kids. They're such naughty kids. I haven't seen that at all since I moved here. I've seen situations where maybe kids make poor choices, but for the most part, there is just some really amazing things going on here. So not only because I want to change how people view teenagers, but I also want us to celebrate the good things. Why do we always talk about the negatives and never celebrate the positive?
With all the new online resources and online classes, what do you think about online schooling for St. Francis?
You know, I think there's a place for it. I really do. My own daughter's going to college, and you have to take online classes. That's just the way it is. The universities, the trade schools, the tech schools, every post-secondary option uses it in some capacity. Even the military expects you to take some online programming. And so I think it's good that we offer it. I do think it's unfortunate when kids switch over to a full online. I think they lose some of that interaction with a teacher. I think they lose interaction with the other students in their classroom. I guess I'm not against it. If online schooling works for you in your situation, I think that's absolutely fine. I do think all kids should take some form of online so that you're prepared for something in the future.
Going back to like how you were talking about levies and stuff, and like the government funding, does more students leaving the school to do online affect how much like income we get?
That's a really great question. We have our online programs, so the answer in our situation is no. Unfortunately, for a lot of districts, they do lose funding when they go to online schooling. We're just really fortunate here that we have Saints Online, and truthfully, we have a lot of kids from other districts coming to our online program, and so we're very fortunate here, but it can impact funding. But again, you know, funding is really, really important, but what is most important is that a child get what they really need.
Last question is about school cancellations. How do you decide that?
Oh my. Yeah, this district, you guys feel pretty strongly about your snow days. I got a lot of calls and a lot of emails, a lot of texts on the most recent snow thing we had. I do take it very, very seriously. I've let staff and the community know via emails and social media and things like that, but I do go out and drive roads by 3:30 in my own personal truck. I go check roads. It's really important that we know what we're going to do by 4:30 or 5 because we've got bus drivers already coming to do their pre-checks on their buses. So I take it very seriously that way. This last episode of weather, I watched webinars at 4 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m. You know, they kept moving the amounts of snow back and they kept moving the timing back. So I think we made a really good call not releasing early. At the end of the day, parents make the decision for what they want to do with their children. And if they want to excuse their kids from school, they have every right to do that. And I will never question that. But I would caution people doing it too soon. I do take it super, super seriously. The one thing you probably rarely see out of me is an early release. And the reason for that mostly is my very first year as superintendent at my last district, we released the kids early. You send out the phone call, you send out the emails. Everyone knows, right? It's on every site, it's on the webpage, it's on social media, everyone knows. But there are some parents that work jobs that can't have their phones, they can't have a TV on, they have no way of knowing that school has been released early.
Yeah.
That is a possibility. And here I've got 4,300 kids. How do you know that every single parent knows that their child's coming home early?
Yeah.
And so my first year as superintendent, a little kindergartner got home and was locked out of his house. And to this day, it still gets me he could have froze. And if that neighbor next door wouldn't have seen him pounding on his home door, not his parents' fault at all, but they did not know that child was coming home early. And so for me to do an early release from school I'm not worried about either of you guys. You know how to get in your house, you'll figure out a way. You would walk to a neighbor's house, you'd probably drive somewhere. You know what to do in those situations. But if you're up to the age of about 9, would you really have ever known what to do?
No.
You would have stand there and pound on the door, Mom, I'm home, and they can't get in. And so, sorry, I get a little choked up about it because that was a really scary situation. That it was just really hard. So letting out early, I have to be so sure that something bad is coming. because I would rather have you here stranded. I can feed you, I can keep you warm, I can do all of those things here. But if I send you out into the elements, I have to be sure that it's the right decision. Now, late starts, you're leaving from your parents. I'm not near as worried about those. They're wonky and they throw the whole day off and they're just not very good. But it does give us more light, and it does give road crews some time to put down some sand and plow and all those things. So late starts don't bother me, but early releases, boy, you know it's bad. If you see Superintendent Giese getting you out here early, you know it's bad. You need to get home. I'm starting month 5, and I just want everyone to know how much I love it here, and I want you to tell the kids and anyone in the student body that I truly am here to talk to anyone. I mean, I think sometimes people think, oh, she works over in that building. Well, you see me walking around the district all the time. If you can catch me then, or if you want to set up an appointment like you girls did, I love talking to people. So I just hope everyone takes me seriously on that. And, you know, if you want to chat about something or whatever, I'm here for everybody. So I really enjoyed this. You guys asked some good questions, and if you ever need more information, just let me know.